Hello, welcome back to my channel. I hope y'all are having a good day whenever you've decided to click on this video. I'm going to be doing my hair and talking to you about what we're doing this weekend and or in this vlog. As you can probably tell by the title, it's a Kindle Unlimited reading vlog. I'm going to be reading some like new adult bad boy romances. Kind of hyped for it. I randomly picked up, I think Wicked Night, I'll put a picture of it right here, and it just sort of sparked my interest in picking up some more Kindle Unlimited books. And I realized also that I was like 20% into Twisted Games, and so I was like, 2 books down. And then I was also like, okay, but I want to read some Sophie Lark because everybody seems to love Sophie Lark, and also because Erin was asking for it, and you know what? Can't let Erin down, so we're going to be reading that as well. I am looking forward to it. This weekend is obviously going to be super chill, and I am going to take you along with me as I go through this weekend. Full transparency, I'm not doing shit this weekend. I think we are going to go and get Hayden fitted for his wedding tuxedo tomorrow, but other than that, I don't really have a lot planned. And honestly, that's just like why I don't do a lot of casual reading vlogs. My life is not that interesting. I feel like I don't have much to share, but I just love watching other people's, so I'm gonna try to like clue you in on some things and like take you along with me. Let's talk about Twisted Games. I think that's the one that I'm gonna try to, or Twisted Hate, that's the one that I'm gonna try to, I think, finish today because it's the one that I started first and it's the one that I'm like perhaps the most excited about. It's like one of my most anticipated romances of the year. I am enjoying it so far. It is about Jules and Josh, and they have this sort of like enemies to lovers situation going on. It's been like that since the first book. We get some sort of like playful banter between the two of them. Josh is Ava's brother from the first book. He sort of has beef with his sister's best friend, Jules. Jules is sort of this like party girl, has sort of a sassy mouth on her. Josh thinks that Jules is a bad influence on his sister Ava, and so he's never really enjoyed Jules or her company. They kind of have to team up / work together in this book because they are working for the same like charitable cause, I believe. It's something where doctors and lawyers team up to help people in need. Josh is, I want to say like an ER resident or something like that, and Jules is almost an attorney. I want to say she's like waiting for her bar results and she has this job lined up, but in the meantime she is like volunteering and working at this place. I say volunteering, I think she might be getting paid for it. I don't exactly know, but I think it's sort of this non-profit like charitable endeavor, and so far there hasn't really been much in the way of working together, but they definitely are, you know, having some sassy playful moments. The book actually opened up with Josh and Jules at a bar. We see Jules getting stood up for a date and running into Josh, who is like ending his date with this woman. You can tell that he like kind of feels sorry for Jules. Jules is still kind of like upset about it, and it really sets the groundwork well for the rest of the romance. I really want to say Anna Huang does such a good job at really setting the tone for her romances and getting you to know pretty much immediately what the story is going to be about. Sometimes you go into a book and you don't know what the tone's going to be, or you don't really understand what the trope is going to be, and I mean sometimes that can be fun, like if you're into something that is going to be a bit of a mystery. But for a Kindle Unlimited romance, especially a new adult one, I want to know what I'm getting going into the book. And I'm not saying that it's like insta-love or that you know exactly how the story is going to unfold, because Anna Huang actually does include a lot of like fun twisty elements to her books, but you know at the beginning this is going to be an enemies to lovers, and if you haven't read the other books in the series, you still kind of know what's going to go on, what's going to go down. She jumps right into the meat of the story, and I very much appreciate it. So I'm overall just having a good time with it. I put it down because I remembered that I wanted to film this vlog, so I put this one down. Are you just loving this tutorial or lack thereof by me? This is literally the bane of my existence. I hate doing my hair. I like my hair to look a certain way, but I do not like spending the time on it, and I generally put it off until midday after having washed my hair. I wash my hair at night, I wake up in the morning, and I don't want to do it, and I usually wait until like 2 or 3 in the afternoon to do it. What time is it? It's almost 2, so right on schedule, right on time. I'm gonna go ahead and finish my hair. I'll get back to you once I'm a little bit further into Twisted Games. I'll let you know when more exciting and hopefully more steamy stuff happens. Okay, so as you probably saw from that transition, I put this book down for a little bit, and I had a hard time figuring out if it was just because my mindset, my mental health is still a little bit weird, or if it's because this book is just not like great for me. And I think it is the latter, actually, which is weird to say because I feel like so many people enjoyed this book more than the prior books in the series, and I get it, it's an enemies to lovers story, and I get that a lot of people prefer that trope, and I don't dislike it. I think if it's done well, I'm cool with it. I think my issue with this one is that it's just a little over the top, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of nuance in this sort of like enemies to lovers situation. I like the backstory behind it. I appreciate that Josh has a reason for disliking Jules, but the way that they react to each other and the way that they jab each other is just not exciting to me. I just feel like, again, it's like I just feel like I want there to be moments of these characters sort of being soft, and I guess you could argue that there is a scene at the like ski resort that they go to where Josh is like kind of caretaking Jules, but it wasn't enough to like overcome the things that come after it or the things that came before it. I just don't feel like provided enough relief between the like hating moments. And at this 30% mark, again, I'm only like 10% more into this book, which is just wild to me because I've been reading it for what feels like forever. At this 30% mark, we've had a sexual encounter and I'm just like, I'm not invested in the relationship. And I feel like I'm probably totally alone in this feeling as like a fan of this author and as a fan of the series, but I'm not loving it, and I'm hoping that that kind of changes as the book carries on, and you know, maybe there will be more soft moments. That's kind of all of my thoughts at this moment. Hopefully my feelings change as I continue to read. I'm hoping that this will at least be a 4-star read, but we never know with me. We never know what we're gonna get. Tragically, I did not end up giving this book 4 stars. It's gonna be a 2-star read for me. I finished this book last Wednesday. It is Monday today. I was trying to puzzle my way through why I didn't love this book compared to the other two, because I think if you were a fan of the other books in this series, there's no reason why you wouldn't be a fan of this particular book. I think it all depends on, well, me being a fickle bitch, but also just how sensitive you are to certain themes. I have my DMs pulled up because I did not write a Goodreads review of this book. I kind of forgot how I feel about it, but I did DM Mina last week as she was reading this book, and we were like kind of trying to figure out why this book sucked. I think the issue for me is the lying. I didn't realize how big of a deal lying is to me in books, but it's a pretty big deal breaker, just generally speaking, in a romance at least. I don't really like secret identity books for that reason. Like the whole premise of a relationship being built on a lie just isn't really it for me. And while the relationship in this story was not built on a lie, there is a pretty big lie as a plot point, right? One of our characters lies to the other, and then after that there is a scene of, I guess you could say, retribution. I did not feel that that was appropriate in a romantic setting. I think it makes sense to be angry if someone is lying to you and if you found out that they were lying to you, but I don't think that the character who was wronged reacted in the correct way. Found myself cringing. I found myself a little disgusted at the actions of that character. Overall, I felt like the main conflict in this book was not so much far-fetched as it was poorly executed. I don't know, it's a toughie for me because I really think that it wasn't so bad in terms of writing or like so different than the other books in the series that other people would be disappointed or upset by this book, but the lying aspect is really what differentiated this one from the others, in my opinion. I don't feel like the apology either was quite on the same level as the apologies in the other books. Like the first book had a really excellent amount of groveling, in my opinion, and this one didn't have any really. So yeah, I thought it was messy. I didn't love the enemies to lovers aspect, and just overall it was not a book that I loved, and that's okay. That is totally okay. I don't really have any big disappointing feelings about it. Was it anticipated by me this year? Yes. Am I super disappointed? Not really. Like, whatever. I am ready, however, to move on to Wicked Night. I don't know much about this book. I did start it probably about a month ago. I was intrigued enough to continue, so that's what I'm going to attempt to read today. I have been slogging my way through some books that I'm just not into, and I just need a smutty good time today is what I need. So that's what I'm gonna be doing. I'm gonna read this book, and will I finish today? Realistically, probably not, but I'm going to try my best, and I will keep you posted as I do so. I think it's like 5 o'clock at this point. Gonna eat some fish tacos, gonna read some smut. Great Monday. Where to begin, honestly? I'm like 30-40% into Wicked Night, and I say 30 or 40% because I am listening to the audiobook of this. I don't know what possessed me to pick up the audiobook for this one. I was having a perfectly fine time reading the Kindle edition. I got like 4 chapters in last night, and I was like, you know what, this is entertaining. Something about the first couple of chapters of this book just like really gripped me, and I don't know. I didn't need the audiobook, but I decided to give like a sample a listen on Amazon, and oh my god, very glad that I did. Is this book fantastic? No, it is not. Is the audiobook narration hot? Very much yes. I don't even know where to begin. So this book is about our main character, Stella. She is an American girl, not doll, but just like an American girl in the UK, and her dad moved her there. She's gone to like a million different schools, and she's in the UK. I think her dad is actually British, and he says, this is going to be the last move that we make. You can make friends here, you can stay here, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I don't believe you. And in the opening scene, Stella is kind of getting introduced to the principal of the school or whatever. I don't know what to call him in the UK. She's meeting the principal, and then we get like her inner dialogue about how she's not looking forward to going to this like posh school. She fucked a stranger in a graveyard a couple of nights ago, and you're just like, okay, it's gonna be one of those kind of books. And we get introduced pretty quickly to like the bad boys of school, who are all kind of a part of a mafia, I want to say. I don't really know the details of it. Like, we are not privy to the details even this far into the book, but the ringleader of the dudes at school is Sebastian. He is not actually like heir to the throne, which is kind of surprising. I feel like if you're going to write a book series, usually you'd have the heir to the throne be the main dude, but that's not the case here. Sebastian's just like friends with, I think Theo is maybe the heir to the throne. Regardless, we just have some bitchy bully interactions between Stella and Sebastian. Wow, I don't know, I'm blinking today. Are any of the interactions very interesting or exciting? Not so much. Like, at the beginning, I was appreciating the kind of conflict between the two characters. I thought it was kind of fun, like sexual tension. I think the male narrator for Sebastian is impeccable, and so I think that's making the book enjoyable. It's so tough because, like, intrigued by the story, but I don't feel like it's going anywhere. We are kind of set up to believe that there is some sort of like rivalry, and the reason why Sebastian can't crush on Stella is because Stella's dad did something, I guess, to the mafia, or perhaps did something to Sebastian's dad. I don't know. Sebastian's dad and sister are dead. Dad and sister, and his mom is a drug addict. So he has some like baggage, and I think Stella's dad had something to do with something in that regard. And so he kind of hates her and like can't fall for her or whatever. But I don't feel like we have enough details in there to really buy into the hatred portion of it. That being said, if you are kind of like on the fence about bully romances, I think this one would probably be fine because it's not really that intense in terms of the bullying. I'm not like, oh my god, this is too much for me. That being said, I do enjoy bully romance, so if just the idea of one is a hard no for you, maybe don't pick this up. I don't know, it's fine. Kind of? I don't know. I'm just so enjoying the listening experience that it's kind of clouding my judgment on like whether this is actually a quality story. I'm willing to overlook that because there's been a little bit of knife play and graveyard pictures being taken. I don't know. It's kind of fun, kind of different, maybe. I'm withholding my judgment until I get farther in, but so far I'm kind of into it. The Cassie Clare of it all. I finished Wicked Night. I didn't update you as I was reading because not a good goddamn thing happened. It wasn't bad, and the audiobook narration really like saved this book for me. I say it wasn't bad. It was pretty bad. It was not a good book. It was not well thought out. It was not well plotted. It was serviceable, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. Like I told you previously, this book followed Stella and Sebastian at this like elite private school. Is it a private school? Actually, it might have just been like a regular college in the UK. The whole time we're wondering a little bit about the mafia. We're wondering what Stella's dad's involvement in the mafia is because she and her father are like back in the UK and blah blah blah. The reveal at the end of the book kind of lets you know a little bit of what Stella's father's involvement is, but we never figure out the importance of this mafia, what they do, why all of these like young boys, I guess, are involved. I don't know what year they are, but they can't be older than 18, and I just don't understand how they're supposed to have any sort of like meaningful contribution to the mob. Am I crazy for thinking this? I don't know, it just feels weird. And then the only other thing that really happens in this book is a series of melodramatic, mean girl, love triangle moments, right? So we have Sebastian, who has been sleeping with this other girl before Stella comes to town, and she is trying to like get payback or revenge because now he is into Stella instead, and like Stella's also better at gymnastics than this girl. I can't remember her name. So that's like a whole subplot line, and her car gets vandalized, Stella's car gets vandalized, and the person that like comforts her and is there for her is this guy named, I think, Toby. And so he is like some sort of like viable love interest. We know that he's not going to be the love interest because he doesn't even get a fucking POV in this book. We're kind of stringing him along, or the reader is being strung along this entire time. I'm realizing just how fucking tired I am. Wow. I woke up at 3 a.m. today and couldn't go back to sleep, but not a good book. Like, was it the worst thing I've ever read? No. Did I give it 2 stars? Also, yes. I do think it kind of fit like the bad boy category. I think the smuttier scenes were kind of hot. I really do support the audiobook narration of this, and I was like on the lookout to see if specifically the male narrator, like if he does any other audiobooks. It looks like for romances he only does this series, which kind of sucks. I hope he branches out, but I don't think I'll be continuing on with the series. I am glad I picked this up. I feel like I am always really tempted to pick up books that other people recommend in KU, which is fine, but in terms of recommending things and getting to try new things, I feel like it's kind of important, right? Like, maybe you don't think it's important, but like I want to be able to share with you maybe books that you've never heard of before. Maybe you've heard of this, I don't know. I hadn't, so I'm glad I gave it a try, and it was an entertaining read. If a little stupid and contrived. Anyway, moving on. I did just start The Rebel by Sophie Lark. I feel like I keep seeing so much about Sophie Lark's books. She just released, I think, the 5th book in this series, and everybody's talking about it on Instagram, and I was like, okay, fuck it, I'm gonna read this book. And I've since decided that I'm actually going to read all of the Brutal Birthright series and the Kingmaker series. I know, I'm stupid. So if you see this clip again in that video, apologies, but also not apologies, because I'm not gonna like read the book twice and film twice. Anyway, this book is about our main characters, Zoe and Miles. Zoe, at the beginning of the book, is promised to a guy in the mafia named Rocco. He is going to somehow provide some valuable alliance to Zoe's family. Her dad is kind of an asshole, and so is her stepmom, and so they're like marrying her off to this guy who has value in a business sense, right? And he is, I think, just a year older than Zoe, so he's not like a creepy old man, but he is sadistic. The beginning of the story, I was like sort of confused because I didn't read the description of this book or like the synopsis before going into it, so I was like, oh my god, this man does something horrible, or this boy does something absolutely horrible at the start of the story, and I'm like, please fucking tell me he's not getting a redemption, because I don't want to read his story. Luckily, I found out after a little bit of digging that Zoe is not actually wanting to marry this man. I mean, obviously, but it's not going to be like an enemies to lovers situation. She's going to get with someone else instead, and that person is Miles, who is the son of some mafia people. I don't know who they are. Present in other books, I think in the Brutal Birthright series. That's the one thing I will say. I don't really care about the lineage of characters and stories, right? Like, love Penelope Douglas. I liked her, is it Fall Away series? But I don't really care about the fact that the people that are going to be in the spin-off series are like the kids of people in the original series. Does that make sense? Like, I just don't care. And in the series, I certainly don't care. There's like too much in terms of like complicated hierarchies and like family trees. I don't give a shit. So I don't know anything about these characters or their parents. But Miles, needless to say, is the son of some sort of like mafia people, because he's gonna go to Kingmaker's Academy. So is Zoe. I think Zoe's been going for a while, and so is this man Miles. Miles is really wanting to be some sort of like successful, I don't want to say producer, but like he wants to make money, right? He wants to have a part in like making things happen. He wants to be like the man behind the curtain. He is trying to do that a little bit at Kingmakers, is kind of what it's seeming like. And then Zoe is obviously just trying to survive at Kingmakers, and things are complicated because she is trying to avoid her betrothed at Kingmakers, since they're like both going there. I think Rocco's in his like last year or something like that, but she ends up kind of fucking up because Rocco gets mad at her and essentially convinces Zoe's dad to let Zoe's youngest sister, who's supposed to be going to art school, go to Kingmakers instead. And so Zoe's not super happy because Kingmakers is this like brutal place, and her sister's so tame and like sweet, and we don't want her to go there. Things are complicated, and I think it'll be interesting because Kat, the younger sister, does have a POV in the story, and I don't know how much of a POV. I just know like the next chapter I'm reading is Kat's POV. So I am liking this already off the bat more than the first book. I feel like the first book was needlessly long, and I'm sure this one is going to be as well. But that one, I don't know, I just didn't really buy the friends to lovers thing, and I'm gonna reread it soon and like maybe see if my thoughts and opinions have changed, but didn't love that one. This one, however, it's a little more promising. I feel like the setup is a little bit more, I don't want to say believable or convincing, but to the point. Like, we're getting there. I know what's gonna happen. It makes sense. I'm already buying into what's going on. So according to my Kindle, I'm 13% into this book, and I feel like I haven't been reading for that long, so I don't think this is as long as the first book in the series. Not that it fucking matters, but I'm gonna keep reading it tonight, but I probably won't update you until tomorrow because this was hard to film. I have scrambled egg brains, truly, really and truly. So I'm gonna read a little bit, talk to you tomorrow, and we'll finish up this vlog and this book. Okay, so I've gotten about 50% into The Rebel by Sophie Lark, and I can say with some degree of certainty that it is better than The Heir was. I think for me, it is because the romantic relationship at the center of this story is not a sort of like half-baked friends to lovers thing. As much as I love friends to lovers, I feel like if you're not gonna take the time to really show us the basis of that friendship, what's the fucking point? It could read as any other like kind of insta-lovey story, you know? This one is tough for me because I like the plot of the story, but I'm not super invested in the romance between Zoe and Miles. I'm really rooting for Kat and her place at Kingmakers. I really want Zoe to get out from under the thumb of Rocco, and I want to see like what Miles does with his empire, but I'm just not really invested in Zoe and Miles' relationship, which is frustrating because I liked the idea of Miles being a savior, but strangely, it's not like over the top enough for me. Like, I think if you're gonna have this sort of like savior plotline, fine. I want it to be really dramatic. I want it to be kind of epic and grand proportions. And while there was like kind of a cool altercation between Rocco and Miles where I was like, oh shit, like this is going to be interesting and good, I just don't feel like it's really manifested into anything particularly interesting. Granted, I'm only 50% in, and I'm hoping that as I continue to read, there are going to be some like explosive moments. I just feel like so far I'm a little bit not bored, because again, like I am invested in reading this book. I'm getting through it fairly quickly. It's just there's something missing there, and I think that is the romance, which I just find fascinating because so many people say that like Sophie stories are these like really raw and emotional and like spicy things, and I have just not really seen that or felt that to be the case. Like there definitely are some like riskier scenes, like Zoe and Miles end up like hooking up in the library at one point. There wasn't really much lead up there, and like we're told repeatedly that, you know, Miles and Zoe know each other, but they aren't like, you know, friends per se or whatever, and like I didn't really see a good progression from them going to being like acquaintances to something more. It's just like he saves her once and then like they have some sort of like deep feelings for each other, and I just like, I don't get it. Like there's no basis for this romantic relationship. So I'm gonna keep reading. I think like at this point my feelings about the book are kind of like 3-star material. I am becoming more invested in the world of Kingmakers. I like some of the plot points, especially Kat's journey. I really want to see kind of where she ends up and if she ends up having a love interest, but so far I'm just like kind of ambivalent about the romance, which is kind of tricky in a book that is peddling itself as a romance. Okay, I'm like 75% in, and something wild just happened. I'm gonna put a spoiler warning right here in case for some fucking reason you want to pick up this book. You've been warned. Okay, why the fuck is there a public execution in this book? There was kind of a brawl that takes place between Miles and Rocco and some of their goons and fellow friends. It basically ends up like one of the friends, Ozzy, ends up stabbing a guy in the neck kind of on accident, and the guy ends up bleeding out, and so Ozzy is going to be publicly executed, but we find out that he is not actually executed. His mom gets executed in his place. What the fuck? I don't even know what to say, honestly. This book is just so unhinged and just out there. Not the whole book, right? But like some of the things that take place at the school. And you know what? I think it is for me that like not only is the romance kind of but the tone of this book is just odd. It's kind of dark and depressing and not in a fun way. I hate to draw comparisons to a certain magical school series, but it feels like that, but like darker, you know, like in the last couple of books in that series. Like that's kind of vibes I'm getting here. And I'm not saying that I expected like a mafia school to be an upbeat place, but I don't know. I'm just like not vibing with it, and maybe that's just like I've been reading too many dark and depressing things lately, but I'm just like, how? I don't know. I will say though, the romance is getting better. There have been some slightly romantic moments. Miles kind of goes out of his way to treat his lady to some like popcorn and movies, even though movies and like everything basically technologically they're banned from. So it was sweet that he like went out of his way to make her happy, whatever. But I don't know. I'm still like not sold on the romantic component of this. And I know that I said at the beginning of like this clip, me reading these books, not this clip, but like me reading this book in particular, that I would maybe read the Kingmaker series in its entirety for a video. I just like don't know if that's really something I want to do. Even if this turns out to be higher than a 3-star read, I just don't think I want to become invested in the series. It's just not worth the investment. I don't think. Sure, the world's interesting and sure it's well written, but I just like, if I don't love the romances, what's the fucking point? Okay, so I finished The Rebel by Sophie Lark, and I'm rethinking my thoughts. I do think I want to continue on with the series. God damn it. I think it was really clever to include Kat's POV because now I'm invested in reading Kat's story, and I'm pretty sure that I know who she's going to end up with. I'm here for it. I'm invested. The ending of the book I thought was pretty solid, if a little bit unbelievable and cheesy. So we have Miles, and he ends up striking up a deal with some members of various mafias so that he can win, I guess you could say, Zoe. Instead of Zoe having to marry Rocco, some other events happen. And I don't think that's much of a spoiler to say. I think it's like pretty much implied in the way the story goes down. And there are some other kind of juicy things that happen that I will not spoil, mostly because I really don't want to have to put spoiler warnings at the end of this. It was a pretty good ending. I don't think the story is going to get more than 3 stars from me, but I feel like it's a very solid 3 stars. I can't remember what I gave the first book, but I want to say it was 2. So like maybe upward trajectory from here. I just really want to know what happens in Kat's story. Like I'm very invested. She went from this like shy wallflower to now wanting to kind of carry on with her degree and become a spy. There's like 4 different houses, I guess you could say. There's like spies, enforcers, heirs, and accountants, I guess. She's a spy and she's excited to carry on with her education and also maybe fall for someone. So yes, like I said, I enjoyed parts of this book. I'm invested in this world, but I felt like this romance was kind of weak. I do like that the characters ended up together. I do like that Zoe and Miles like supported each other's dreams, and like that was important. But I feel like there could have been more romantic moments. Like there was that, again, one scene where Miles does something sweet for Zoe, but I don't feel like there were enough romantic relationship development moments for it to be a really like solid and swoony romance. But maybe that wasn't the intention, I don't know. Like maybe this is supposed to be more about the world and the plots, but I don't feel like as a romance it was perfect, but it was a fun story, and easily I would say the best of the 3 books that I read. I would say it all kind of like went uphill-ish. Not that Wicked Night was much of an improvement over Twisted Hate, but anyway, I hope that this was entertaining in some way. I am sorry that I couldn't have enjoyed more of the books, but sometimes that's just the way the cookie crumbles. I'm excited to carry on with some more Kindle Unlimited reads here soon. I have a whole list of like Kindle Unlimited videos that I want to do and particular tropes that I want to read. I think the next one you're going to see from me is probably going to be a dark romance reading vlog, but I might carry on with the Kingmaker series and do a whole video on that as well, since those are also in the KU universe. The KU universe? Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Love you so much, and until next Sunday.